Hello, I'm Heather Prekop here with Karine Dussimon, Global Insights Manager at Euromonitor, and here to welcome her back. She was just at VitaFoods Europe in Barcelona last week on speaker stage, and the conference there was an innovation in health, wellness, and nutrition. And we're here today to hear a little bit about her experience and some of the key trends that she saw from the show. But Karine, maybe to start off, give us a little bit of background about what this show is about. Have you been in past? And what kind of are the headlines of your speaking points as well from your presentation last week?
Hi, Heather. No, thank you very much for doing this. This is a great opportunity to kind of put some highlights forward for this big event, VitaFoods Europe 2025. It was in a new location, Barcelona. They made sure that it was quite buzzing. And yeah, I feel like I got a lot out of it. It's the first time that I attend this particular event. And definitely the audience is very much consumer health, nutraceuticals, and within that, a lot of ingredients companies, I guess. There's a little bit more around retail as well, but yes, very, very heavy on the nutraceutical side, and that of course includes a little bit of a few players on the food and drink space for sure. But yes.
Great. And your presentation, what was the topic of that you had presented on?
So I spoke about opportunities around metabolic health. So that was kind of the lens that I took around, all the exciting innovation that are happening really in health and wellness across the different industries that I've mentioned. And yeah, talking a lot about sort of consumption occasions throughout the day, becoming a little bit more focused on appetite control, but relating to other things as well, like emotional well-being and things like that. Um, so yeah.
Great. Okay. And so I guess just in general, I mean, this was your first time. What were the key themes that you saw? Maybe give us a recap.
Sure. So I would say probably three big themes that came up quite a lot. So the first one, without a doubt, women's health. It's exploding as a category, especially when it comes to segmenting women's health by life stage. So, things like including fertility, maternal wellness, menopause. Uh, then I would say like a quiet but quite powerful, visible push towards precision nutrition.
Hmm.
So the molecular profiling at the level of individuals, so kind of targeting personalized health needs. So through clinical proof, emerging delivery technologies, different things like that. And then the last one's definitely metabolic health, which we've mentioned now. And it was really quite interesting to see how a lot of the conversations kind of connected the dots between the different themes, like, as I said, appetite control, but also cognition, digestive support, skin health, even. So beauty from within.
So very holistic health was the approach here.
Exactly, exactly. I think going towards a holistic approach was definitely a recurrent theme. Not necessarily like a big trend, but yeah, definitely a recurrent theme.
Great. And so I guess maybe, as you had said, a lot of the attendees were suppliers and ingredients. I mean, what were some of the key ingredient science that you were seeing across for innovation in the
Uh,
space?
So obviously there was I would say a lot. I spoke to Gnosis by Le Safre. They're really pushing forward the fermented pharma solutions using yeast and bacteria. So there's a sustainability win to it. That's a good way to bypass all the complexity around raw materials to sourcing. Um, uh, there was a presentation by Roussolo for the latest collagen peptide, which targets glucose spikes after meals. But it's, using collagen, it's a little bit of a novelty, I suppose. So within the context of metabolic health, I would say a push towards postbiotics. So companies like
Hmm.
DSM Firmenich, Simrise were there. Um, and yeah, I should probably talk about format innovation briefly, with liquids forms coming through and things like candy-like products like freeze-dried drops. So these are like delivery formats that are now enticing consumers because it's kind of a way to give them more empower them a little bit more when it comes to how they want to get their nutrients in every day. So
Make it a bit more fun too, kind of a build up the gummies
exactly.
theme.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a bit of pill fatigue, and you could really feel all the buzz and excitement around all the new formats that were coming through. Yeah.
And sorry, just to get a bit back, you had mentioned a post probiotics, which I think is new maybe for many of us here. And there's the probiotics and prebiotics, and now we're talking post probiotics.
Yeah,
Maybe
sure.
a bit of an explanation of what that entails.
Yes, of course. So you got obviously the probiotic space, which has been quite established, which is, the sort of live bacteria that promotes gut health. But then you've got the prebiotic kind of nutrients, which nourish your probiotics. And then out of this, the outcome of the activity from the probiotics is postbiotics. And some of the really interesting things with postbiotics is that they're not live bacteria, so they don't depend on certain chilled conditions. So there's,
Okay.
the ambient element is very important in how you access all sorts of occasions and stuff. So
Some more flexibility for applications within the food
exactly.
and beverage space, I would imagine. Great.
Absolutely.
So I guess a couple of other, I know I had been chatting with you a little bit before this, and you had also mentioned the theme of bioavailability. This again, maybe could use a little bit of an explanation for our viewers on what that means, and then just discuss that topic a little bit as well would be great.
Yes, of course. I would probably say, in short, bioavailability is kind of the efficacy with which a product is able to deliver nutrients to the body in a active way. So how the body is then able to utilize these nutrients as best. So it's an efficiency thing. And it was definitely something that was part of the conversations I've had on site. And
Yeah,
yeah, there's quite a bit going on, I suppose, in that space.
I guess I'm imagining, iron supplements is something I have to take daily, and the recommendation is don't drink it with your coffee, drink it with vitamin C. And so the combination of how things are received or digested makes a lot of sense, and maybe some knowledge and around that space. Um,
Exactly. Yeah, and I would say, generally, I think because there's an awareness that consumers are kind of looking for, like I said, that efficiency in everything they do, and being able to have products that are even more effective on their body or their mind really resonates today. And it goes together, I guess, with the need for clean labels. So more impact from the good stuff, a little bit less auxiliaries, which tend to be perceived as kind of the bad stuff, I would say.
and I'm sure it goes in line with the personalization trend for kind of, what did you call it? Very specific nutrition or um,
Precision nutrition.
precision nutrition, just that much more effectiveness and efficiency if it's personalized to the individual.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah,
Great.
absolutely.
Another trend I know you had mentioned was longevity. So
Mm.
maybe speak a little bit about how um, people are viewing or kind of measuring this in different terms from what you saw last week.
Yeah, it's a really interesting space because it's kind of, I want to say, almost in its infancy, in terms of we don't have a lot of consumer ready products out there, but the foundations are being built. So it's that sort of brewing area, if you will. And yeah, and science is definitely catching up. So you've got companies that are now able to measure how their products can impact, reduce your biological age. So how old your body is in terms of biological development or decay, we should say, depending on the age.
Mhm.
And yeah, so things like collagen for endurance and magnesium for sleep and all that. So I think longevity doesn't yet have a big space in terms of product availability assortments for the consumer, but the consumer's getting more aware of it, and the industry knows it, and they're really kind of at the stage of putting together their their offerings, I suppose.
And you'd mentioned biological age, and I think maybe it's important the distinction of that versus chronological age, right? So
Exactly.
chronological age is just our 10, 20, 30, 40 years measured in years of age versus biological is more on, would you say,
Exactly.
the development?
So chronological age is kind of relates to your birthdays, how
Yes,
old you
yeah.
are
How we're used to
technically.
thinking about age, right?
And exactly. And then by your biological age is actually how quickly your body develops and again decay. We should kind of talk about this, I guess. And that will really depend from one person to another, and that will be a
Genetics,
consequence of
health.
different things. Your
Yes.
microbiome, your metabolism, how good your body is at powering itself.
Okay. Again, a personalization play that not everyone
Yeah,
at age 30 or 40 or 50 has that same point along the biological span of aging.
100%.
Interesting. I guess, a couple more things. Brain health is one. We talked a bit about women's health and metabolic health. These are ongoing themes, which were to have been expected from last week. Brain health, also a hot topic. What did you see in that space
Yeah.
from last week?
Um, I think one of the so earlier you were talking about the holistic approach, and I think brain health is an interesting one. It's an interesting example of where actually manufacturers are kind of taking a bit more of a holistic approach in how to provide, cognition, emotional support, and sort of, helping your mood and get to that flow state and all of this. Um, I think it's Clinical Research Australia kind of really highlighted the overlaps between things like insomnia, anxiety,
Hmm.
Alzheimer's disease risk, and things like that. And so it kind of invites companies to utilize ingredients like saffron, magnesium, ashwagandha, probiotics, and combine them. Obviously, there's a lot of complexity to it. It sounds simple, but but these ingredients can help on different things like that. So it makes sense for companies to really start incorporating them together and looking at it in a sort of full spectrum, providing full spectrum support.
Healthy mind, healthy body, healthy body, healthy mind. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I guess just another question, kind of spanning all the themes that you saw. Were there, the show was obviously in Barcelona. Were there differences in regions? What see from the European region versus North America or other?
Totally. One interesting thing that you could say is a major difference in markets when you look at North America versus Europe is probably, Americans tend to be a little bit more sort of outcomes and performance oriented.
Hmm.
And so they'll be quite open, I suppose, to try new delivery formats, new concepts, and kind of just quite open to sort of, a bit of novel innovation that might even challenge their views if it's being talked about. And yeah, and then in Europe, I suppose we're a bit more entrenched in certain beliefs and things like that. And you can see how this translates with GLP-1 drugs intake for weight management, for example, where
Yeah.
in North America, I mean, we're much ahead of that. It is absolutely changing things in Europe and globally. But I think in Europe, there's a bit more sort of reluctance and skepticism, I should say, as to whether, people should sort of go for that kind of approach. You can definitely see that.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah, I guess then the last question would be anything very surprising, any kind of wild cards from the show that you'd want to mention?
I mean, for sure, sort of pet nutrition appeared on site for the first time. So I guess that was one of the novelties for VitaFoods
Hmm.
this year. And I mean, pet nutrition is an area which is quite vibrant in terms of innovation for health, in terms of life stage segmentation. So, depending on how old your pet is and that sort of thing. But I think what I found quite interesting was it really shows you how the consumer health and nutraceutical industry is really putting a focus on this industry because there's a lot of growth and yes, there's definitely a lot of crossovers also with the food the food space there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that is an ongoing theme that we've seen in conferences throughout the year, even beginning with CAGNY in February. High growth in pet space noted by a lot. And so apparently innovation and suppliers are, that is top of mind for them as
Yeah.
well.
And I think if you if you also mean the sort of thing that I would probably look and watch ahead of next year, I would probably talk about I would probably focus on how actually these industries blend more and more. Um, you know, I think consumers are really just more and more interested in that health value add. So they're not no longer really just looking at a piece of bread as a piece of bread. They're going to look at what kind of health and nutrients are going to be in there for them, and it might be that they seek those nutrients in another type of product in another category.
Yeah.
So
From food and drink to consumer health to pharma to even pet nutrition is
snacks,
lines
dairy,
are more and more being blurred.
absolutely.
Well, great. Well, thank you so much, Karine, for your time here, and look forward to seeing how these trends evolve in months to come. And I believe you have quite a few photos yet still to go through from the show. So maybe as a follow-up, that is something that we can post and showcase a bit more, kind of the visual of what was seen last week.
I'd love to do that, and it was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks for your time. Take
Thank
care.
you, Heather.